Kyle Lacy, welcome to the show. Kyle Lacy is the CMO and Chief Mario Officer, which we'll get into in a little bit, at Lessonly. Kyle has been recognized as one of Indiana's 40 under 40. He's the author of 3 books. He has built the content marketing team from scratch at ExactTarget, which was acquired by Salesforce for $2.6 billion. And he has led marketing at OpenView Venture Partners. He also advises a couple of tech startups besides his current CMO role. So you have a lot on your plate. You also have kids.
I do have kids.
So that's pretty amazing. And a little bit about Lessonly. So Lessonly was founded in 2012. It's about over 200 people, and it's based out of Indianapolis, Indiana. I haven't said Indianapolis, Indiana on the show yet, so I'm really happy that I can it's our sister state, right next to Illinois.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
It's great. On the funding side, they've raised Series C, 30.2 million total. And I'll give a quick blurb about Lessonly. So it's a powerfully simple way for teams to learn, practice, and do better work. It enables busy teams like sales and customer service to get on the same page, to stay ahead of change, and everyone delivers amazing experiences to customers and prospects. It's not your ordinary training software, and I'd love to get into that. Like, what does that mean? But before we talk about Lessonly, I want to ask you, Chief Mario Officer, that's genius. You basically, like, everybody saw it on LinkedIn. You updated your title, and that spread the message. And it's because you have an event coming up. Can you talk about that and how you came up with this?
Yeah, so we have a skills summit coming up on May 18th. That's around a new product that we're launching, and the whole theme is around like Nintendo gaming, pixel art, like around the Nintendo theme. And the day that we launched it, in the email that was sent out, it was from me as Chief Mario Officer, and it had a picture of me in a Mario outfit because I had dressed up as Mario for our sales kickoff. So our entire marketing keynote was designed around Mario and stuff like that. So I randomly, this was not planned. I just randomly changed my picture on LinkedIn and changed my title to Chief Mario Officer, and it worked because we had quite a few people sign up just because I changed my title to Chief Mario Officer. So it was kind of random. It was last second. Now I'm getting people that have no idea why I'm a Chief Mario Officer, and people are confused and stuff like that. But in the scheme of things, it's all right in the long run.
I mean, I think it's genius. You're throwing an event. You want people to be curious and figure out what's going on. It's great, and it spreads the message for sure. So,
yeah,
very cool.
I think it just shows that sometimes irrational thoughts and irrational ideas are the best ideas, and sometimes they don't need to be planned. If you think of an idea, just go do it, and hopefully it works. And this one just happened to. There's been a lot of irrational ideas I've had that haven't worked, but that's another podcast.
Yeah. Well, we could cover it here too. That's very fascinating. So I talked a little bit about Lessonly. Can you add to that? Is there anything that I missed, like who you're for, what problem are you really solving, and how are you not the ordinary training software?
Yeah. So, the easiest way to put it is we are training, coaching, and enablement software for sales and customer service teams. So anyone from a high growth software company that's hiring a bunch of salespeople to a huge call center that has 20,000 reps. And we're not ordinary because we focus a lot on practice and skills development. Like, training is not sitting and taking a lesson and then leaving, or sitting in a room and listening to somebody talk pre-pandemic, right? It's about practicing your skill set and practicing it well, and making sure that you're practicing pitches, making sure you're practicing the ticket that you couldn't figure out when you were on the phone with the customer, making sure you're practicing your demos. Like, it's all about practice and development. So that's why we kind of tout that we're not ordinary software, but we're also really easy to use, which a lot of training software isn't.
Got it. Okay, that is great and makes sense to me. Like, practice, why wouldn't you do that? But there isn't always an easy way to do it, or teams have to figure out how to create their own practice environment, and it's not always the best. So,
well, and it works with our integration into Gong and Zoom and Slack. Like, you can pull a lot of this stuff together to say, hey, pull that Gong call in, or pull that Lessonly lesson into Gong, and listen and give feedback on it and have them practice it. And it's just, it just makes complete sense to me that we as professionals would practice our craft, which we don't tend to think about after we graduate college. It's just a very odd thing that we don't.
Yeah, that's a great point. Your marketing team. So I think that there are designers, growth marketers, customer marketers, field marketers, inbound, outbound, sales reps. Maybe I'm missing a team in there, but is there anything unique in the way that the marketing team is structured?
Yeah, we kind of structure it. The unique thing is that BDRs, outbound SDRs, BDRs, and inside sales, like inbound SDRs, live in marketing. Usually they live in sales. The way we craft the team is there's 3 business units, and it's basically channels. You have an inbound team, you have an outbound team, and then you have a marketing strategy / customer marketing team. So it's who's controlling the website revenue, who's controlling the outbound revenue, and who's responsible for expansion, customer onboarding, marketing, field marketing, campaign management, and brand. So like we have 3 designers and web dev that live in the marketing strategy team. That's basically an internal agency for Lessonly, and they are responsible for everything that we do from a brand perspective.
That makes sense. Yes, the fact that the outbound sales, SDR and BDR teams are under marketing. Who decided to do that? Why did you decide to do that? And how does it actually make you more successful?
So we were so this was like 2018, so it's been a while, but when we moved them over, it made sense that we united the top of funnel. So that was number one. Why would we separate the people creating content, the people creating demand, to the people calling and trying to create demand as well? So that was number one. Number two is that I want marketing to be responsible for revenue. Marketers that aren't responsible for revenue do not have a seat at the table and can't do cool crap, because they're always responsible for brand or whatever that you can't measure. And then they always fall back on, well, we influenced 95% of revenue. I don't ever want to talk to somebody that uses influence as a metric. It's just a waste of time. Marketers should influence 100% of all revenue, and you shouldn't have to measure it, right? So, okay, I'll get off that soapbox. But so pulling outbound under, it allowed marketing to have a revenue number, so we consistently had a seat at the table. And the third one was it forces alignment between sales and marketing. When marketing is responsible for 70% of your quota, an AE is going to be very vocal about what you're doing, right? So those are the main 3 reasons. And then the 4th reason that came out later was, as marketing became more successful at creating the revenue, we were able to do more irrational ideas like a board game and sending out 5,000 golden llamas and launching an e-commerce site for Ollie Llama and Co. And just things that are brand building, because ultimately revenue is great, but brand is what's going to win a market, because you can be in feature wars all day long. But in order for you to do cool brand stuff, you've got to be generating the revenue, because if not, you're going to be questioned.
This is great. This is gold. I love what you just said. It all makes sense. It's really like the core to your company, the core to your philosophy around marketing. And I'm glad that came out at the very start. of
Well,
our
and
discussion.
so there's two go-to-markets for startups, right? There is sales-led, which is hire salespeople, close quota, and now, championed by venture capital firms like OpenView is product-led, like the Calendlys, the Typeforms of the world. Product-led, in my opinion, growth should also live in marketing. So it depends on what your model is, but if you're thinking about like how do you build a go-to-market plan and you've got a free trial or you've got the ability to upsell in the product, I think that team lives in marketing and not product. Just the same reason why I think outbound BDR should live in marketing and not sales.
Yeah, and maybe this is also where things are heading as companies there's like the old way of doing things, there's like the
Yeah.
newer way that makes more sense, and there's also like the way that people buy, especially after the pandemic. They don't really want to talk to a salesperson in the same way or see them
Yeah. Or they
physically.
want, yeah, and I think you know this as well as anybody that it's a lot of brand community development that's happened over the past year. And I think Lessonly was lucky because we were focused on community. We were very lucky that our founder was focused on community in 2012, right? So we already had the community. We just had to double down on it when the pandemic hit.
Yeah, that's definitely a leg up for sure.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks for explaining that. So 4 years at Lessonly, that's a long time. You've been through a ton of things, I'm sure, throughout this experience. What would you say you did in those early days? Like what was critical to get done 4 years ago when you just came on board and started?
Yeah. There's three main things. The first one was this is very simple, and I think all marketing teams should do it. Create a marketing request form that is then sent out to the company, and nothing can get done or nothing should be done without somebody filling out the request form and it going through the team. What happens as a company scales, and especially in a world where you have Slack and email and phone and everything, for good reason, AE, CX, executive team, they reach out to specific marketing team members to get something done. And the marketing team member usually does not feel comfortable saying no to that person. So I think it was probably within the first month of me being at Lessonly, we put a marketing request form up that's a type form. And we've used that type form for the past 4 years, and it gives marketing the ability to tell an AE that needs help on decks, like a sales deck, hey, you need to go fill out the marketing request. And it's built a model at Lessonly, at least a mental model, that AEs can't ask for last minute things. They've got to plan accordingly if they want a video, if they want a deck, if they want direct mail support or whatever. So that was number one, marketing request form. Allow for your team to say no to people. They'll be more productive. Second thing was setting up a funnel and pipeline meeting that is owned by ops and is attended by every manager that owns a revenue number. So early on, it was just me, my director of marketing, our president, Connor Burt, who is leading sales, and our chief sales officer, and then our VP of CX, and then our finance guy, right? Our CFO, finance guy. Good Lord. Sorry, Brian. It has expanded since then into all direct line managers and CX, sales, services, everybody responsible for revenue number, and that's weekly. And that has really helped with alignment, right? Oh crap, I lost the third one. First one was marketing request form. Second one was funnel and pipeline meeting. Oh, the third one is simplify the funnel. You should only have 3 or 4 metrics that you're measuring as a team, especially when you're talking to sales. And you make sure you get a service level agreement with sales on what the handoff is.
Love it.
And
What are
those are the top 3.
What are the 3 to 4 metrics that you focus on specifically?
So as a team, we definitely keep track of traffic by channel because inbound's a huge portion of our business. We only really have one form, and that's demo. So pretty much we have a really, really strong conversion rate between marketing qualified and meeting set. So it's really just traffic, demo, pipeline, and closed won revenue. And then there's nuances in between that because we have verticals and segments now where you're looking at like conversion rate between demo and pipeline, or demo and discovery. Like there's nuances, but those are the core ones that we're just looking at.
That's great. I love that simple. And I really like what you said. The first thing, that marketing request form. Oh my goodness. I wish I knew about this way back when.
We had it. Yeah, it's crazy. Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, because you don't want to say no. And especially at a startup that's growing, and especially when everybody needs something. So you almost have to ask your boss. Like the CEO has to be like, you cannot bother her. She's working on this. Yeah. And that's not the right way to go about doing it. So I love this request form. I sat next to a marketing ops person. She was the one working in Salesforce and updating stuff and making sure the AEs were putting stuff in properly. And she had a request form, sat right next to me. And I didn't think about having a request form. So
yeah, that's good. Smart. And as long as you get buy-in from the CEO or whoever you're reporting to, and it also allows you to understand what you should prioritize. So if you have like a ton of requests coming in for deck support, there's probably a case to be made that your team should focus on some type of template. Or if you have a ton of requests coming in for one sheets, you probably should focus on setting up a Google site that has everything on it, or looking at a Seismic as an example to help with sales enablement.
Yeah, beautiful.
It helps with that type of stuff.
Yep. I love it. All right. So another thing I wanted to talk about is this Agile marketing framework with 2-week sprints. This is something that you have incorporated, and it sounds really cool. I've done product sprints before, so I'd love to hear, like, what is this marketing 2-week sprint? How does it work? What are you doing?
So we don't do it anymore, and that's because the team's too big to do it now. But when we had 8 to 10 people, mainly focused on demand, and anybody that's a Scrum Master is going to laugh at the fact that I call it an Agile framework, because it's not Agile. And I've been through the Scrum training and all that stuff. It's very simple. It was, we basically plan all of our production campaigns and strategy on 2-week increments. And we wouldn't bring anything else into those 2 weeks to work on, except for the core things that we had decided based off of the hours we had on what we were going to do. And that's the simplified version. We were using Trello to track all of it, to move things from doing, done, working, all the how people set up the Scrum templates, I guess. But it allowed us to move quicker on things that we needed to get done. Like when we had to overhaul our website in 6 weeks, and we pulled everybody out of the office and we did it in-house. Because we had set up this mentality of sprints, it helped us compact the work into a smaller time frame, because we had been used to doing things in 1 to 2 week sprints. And then it honestly, about a year ago, 2020 is kind of a lost year. Maybe 2 years ago, it just got too much because the teams were too big. So we moved more to a quarterly campaign model.
Got it. But it seems like it worked really well when you had the right amount of people to get moving.
And you could do that in smaller teams. Like we've played around with an idea of squads, which are teams, cross-functional teams like sales, CX, marketing, design, brand, that work on a specific problem over certain time frames. But it hasn't quite stuck like the Agile framework did early on.
What else did you do in those sprints besides, like, the website makes sense? Anything else that you remember you worked on in, like?
It was everything. it was based off of hours that we had. So it could have been like our CEO wrote a book and we did it all in house, and there was sprints around that. We had they had like, you have CRO tests on the website that were 2 weeks. Like our CRO tests are still 2 weeks, but it's more around A/B testing, and it's not quite sprint. We don't talk about it as a sprint anymore. So there's fundamentals of an agile model that still exists randomly in the team, but it's not like we're not calling it out as a framework or anything.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's really cool. So let's talk about Lessonly and the marketing that you are all working on, sprint or not. What's working well for you, your team right now? Like what channels are working really well? If you can talk through that.
Yeah, we're pretty strong on organic. We were built from the very beginning in 2012 to be an organic shop, and the director of marketing at the time, Mitch Causey, is freaking brilliant at organic. Since then he's rolled out a company called Demandwell that is an organic software, and we use it at Lessonly. So organic is top. Paid channels are really strong. And then inbound as a whole is still strong for us. So and that covers our commercial segment, and it's strong in our enterprise segment. It's mostly organic search, and then most of like our events and direct, we do a ton of direct mail, but I don't categorize that as demand. It's brand, it's deal support.
Interesting. Can you talk through like what specific things are you working on for organic like why is that just like has been so amazing and continues to be?
I can't get too deep into it, mainly just because I'm gonna sound like an idiot, but it's mainly because we have 8 years of organic buildup, right? And traffic and links, and we also spend a ton of time on keyword research, future, like what we think is going to be future keywords we need, and building out pillar pages. It's fairly, I don't know, they might get mad that I'm saying this, but it's fairly traditional type approach, but we just do it in a way that's at scale with Demandwell. We have a full-time person that Rachel Saltz gave her. She focuses primarily on organic.
Okay. And then what do you do with paid to kind of like speed things up with your organic stuff?
Paid, we have Google remarketing, Google Ads. That's done in-house with WordStream, and we have a full-time person focuses on that. And then social ads, this is the first time we've really outsourced something to an agency. We have an agency called Client Boost. And before that, it was Zamo Digital. So we usually outsource the social side of it, but it's primarily Google Ads. We play around with like Select Hub and Capterra and Software Advice and Bing and some of those other like review sites. We have G2. That's more intense stuff, but that's primarily. And then it scales using technology, which is WordStream.
Makes sense. Yep. And what about on the brand side? You mentioned direct mail. Like, what are you sending folks in the mail? And are you still sending people stuff in the mail?
Oh yeah. So we use Postal, and Postal is a software that actually has your ability to do direct mail. So it could be, we want to send our book, Do Better Work. We want to send Golden Llamas. We do very custom direct mail for the most part. We do have like the shirts and cool glasses, but outside of that, it's pretty custom. I hate swag that's boring. Like I just like don't send me another t-shirt with your logo on the front. Like I don't need another water bottle. I don't need another flashlight that's a whistle. I don't need it. Whatever your promotional products company like told you to send, I don't need that anymore. Direct mail works if it's custom and it's cool and creative, right? So we do quite a bit of that run through Postal. Postal also has like a virtual event marketplace where you can go and buy virtual events, wine tasting, whiskey tasting. You can buy events around holidays like St. Patrick's Day. And we do quite a bit of that as well, wine tasting, and it's all shipped out through Postal.
Oh, that I've heard that it is pretty awesome, and companies are starting to do more of that where you like set an event and it has nothing to do with your actual company. It's just like, let's create a cocktail.
Yeah.
And then you ship out the ingredients. Yeah, that's cool.
And it's cool because if you use a third party, they don't save the addresses. So people feel more comfortable giving their home address, and we're getting 90% show rates to these events. So why I would ever do a dinner in the middle of New York City again, you would have to convince me, because these things just work because they're after hours, the kids are in bed, they get on and they can talk to peers, and we don't pitch them. Like, we don't do a demo.
Yeah, and you successfully get through to building that relationship, which was what you wanted to do in the first place.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So that's cool. Okay, we talked about some of the channels. We talked about some of the other questions like the sprint related stuff. What about challenges? What are you trying to figure out? Like, what's on your mind these days?
Oh man, there's plenty.
I know you had a bunch of Zoom calls earlier.
I have Zoom. That's my life, is Zoom calls. So I would say that trying to figure out the differences in strategy across different segments and across different verticals and across different geos is probably the most challenging. For us, it's, how do you move a company up market? How do you still support an SMB play while supporting an enterprise play? The go-to-markets are very different. What happens when you start verticalizing sales and start hiring sales that support a specific vertical, right? And I'd say there are opportunities for advancement, not necessarily challenges, because it's mostly just around trying to figure out how to test things and move forward. It's very rare I come across something that I'm like, this is a massive challenge, because it's mostly the fact that you just have to test things and move forward. You have to be proactive about it. And then, speaking of 2020, we moving into 2020, we had 85-90% of our workforce was in Indiana. And now we're slated to hire 50 people in Q1, and a lot of them are going to be remote. And that's changed the dynamic of the company as a whole, right? Like we just hired a great head of inbound, CMO, and he's in Denver. And that's the first time part of our marketing leadership team has been remote. So there's a lot to break apart there. It's kind of nice that we've all been remote for a year now. So we're all kind of like used to the fact that we're not seeing each other. But it's going to be a challenge when we start looking at hybrid models for the office, and the people who remote can't come in as often. And we're going to have to figure that out in the long run. But it's been both a blessing and a curse, because we can now hire from anywhere. And that's been great.
That's pretty awesome that there is such great talent that's where you were hiring from, and you can find a lot of great people in the Indianapolis area.
It's funny because Salesforce's second biggest office is in Indianapolis. So there's a lot of people there because of ExactTarget. But yeah, but there's a specific group of people that you need to hire, and the problem is that everybody else is hiring remote now. So I have never, this job market is insane. I have never seen anything like it ever. Like, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. So any thoughts in terms of like how will you try and keep the same culture? It sounds like a really fun culture. I mean, Chief Mario Officer, right? So how do you continue to hire folks that are remote and then bring that spirit and
Yep.
culture to everybody?
So there's two ways that we try to do this, and it's helped that we have a book that our CEO wrote called Do Better Work that's based off of our values as a company. Our mission statement is we help people do better work so we can live better lives. And he just wrote a book about his philosophy around it. So every new employee gets one, and it's an hour and a half read. And it's kind of the fundamentals of what it means to be a lessonly employee and what it means to be a great teammate, right? And honestly, a great person. Like, you're not going to be worse off if you learn how to do nonviolent communication, right? Like, you're going to be better off as a human being if you can do this. So we have the book, and then the second thing is we tend to focus a lot on predictive index when hiring, which is basically a personality review, and it really allows you to kind of fit people in different teams based off of the way they work in a genuine way. And I think that helps as well when it comes to culture development. But the book's probably the strongest one.
Okay, that's awesome. I think these are like some great ideas to put out there for listeners too that are trying to figure this stuff out as well. Because we're not going back to normal
Nope,
anytime soon.
we're not.
So, or ever. I personally think so.
I
Um,
agree.
so how? Let's talk about. Actually, can we talk about the llama? I know I wanted to go
Yes.
to the next question, but like this llama, like you're sending it in the mail. Like, who is this llama? What is this llama about? Who came up with this
So
idea?
okay. So it's a little bit. I'll give you the backstory. But Ollie Llama is our mascot. And Ollie Llama was a drawing on a chalkboard in our old office that never really went away. And our founder, Max, and his co-founder, Connor, hated the idea of a llama mascot. And the thing just would not go away. The drawing wouldn't go away, it would pop up randomly. They left it on the chalkboard. The janitors would erase everything except the llama for some reason. And then eventually, Mitch, who was the third employee, said, I think we should make this a mascot. And it became Ollie Llama. As part of culture, we give away a golden llama quarterly to employees that best represent the values of the company. And in our new office, we have a golden llama wall that shows the pictures of everybody that's received it. And Ben Battaglia, who was on the marketing team previously, he's now went to be vice president of marketing at a startup here in Indy. He had the idea that why don't we send golden llamas to customers and prospects? And that the whole point was give this golden llama to somebody that represents the values of your company. And that's it. It didn't have anything about Lessonly as a product. We created a landing page on the website that talked about the golden llama. And we found a vendor in upstate Michigan that sells these like 3-inch plastic llamas. And we bought a couple of them, and I spray painted a couple of them gold. And we sent out about 100 of them initially, and it went like people just loved them. We were getting pictures, people taking them with their employees. And so we just started buying them by the 500s. I have pictures of me spray painting like 1,000 llamas in my garage. I'm probably going to die early just because I inhaled so much spray paint as we were doing this. But so it worked really well. And this company in upstate Michigan, I'm pretty sure we've kept them alive as a company just because we keep buying the thousands of these llamas. So it just works as a different way to touch base with a company and say, hey, this is not, you could buy another piece of software, or you can be involved in a community of people that care about work, and you can make that decision. You can make a decision where you buy the company that always has a feature set available because they're constantly developing their product, or you can join a company that has a community that also develops their product in the same way. And I think it's it's understanding the human behind the titles, and I think the Golden Llama represents that for us as a company as well as how we do outreach.
I want to go check out where can I find a Golden Llama after this conversation, because there's just something about it that's
I
so
will
fun.
I will send you one.
I'll take a
send you a
picture
Golden
and
Llama.
post it everywhere.
I will send you one. I don't know if we have them uploaded to Postal yet. They should be soon, but I will. I'm going to be going in the office sometime soon, and I will ship one to you.
I would love that. Thank you, Kyle. And we were just about to get into like how you differentiate the company from other online training players in the space, and I think you hit it right there. It's about you can go with that other company that's updating their software, that has great tech, but you should go with us because we've built something even more human, community. That's better.
Yeah, and it goes back to our original conversation around making sure that marketing generates revenue, because we can do things like our events, and we had our user conference is called Yellowship, and it's finally going to be in person again, hopefully in October. But past Yellowships, I have quotes like, "You make me want to be a better man," and like we have a picture of one of our customers crying at a keynote. Like that type of stuff is human and it's not marketing. But if you create an experience, like the only thing that makes any of us relevant is the experience the customer prospect's having with your brand. And if it's a bad experience, or if it feels like everybody else, you are irrelevant and you will continue to be irrelevant. So you could build the best product in the world, and I happen to think Leslie has one. But if you don't think about the emotional context of somebody using a piece of software, or wanting to meet their peers that are using the piece of software, or the fact that this person is a human being that has a family, like our personas that we built internally at Leslie for our use cases all have like personal stories tied to them that have to do with, like, Maria works in a call center, but she also goes home and has 2 kids. She's a single mom, and she takes night lessons because she wants to get better and become a manager. And I think that I cannot, and I've learned that from, we look at consumer marketing as our avenue for basically for us to develop marketing as a company. Like, what would Nike do? What would Warby Parker do? What would some of these D2C brands that have figured out how to scale e-commerce in a way that's meaningful, because the experience matters, right? I'm sorry, I could talk for hours on this, but I think that's what differentiates Leslie as a company, because if you go read our values, they don't sound like anybody else's values. It's because Max created them from his heart and how he wanted to lead as a person. And I think that makes a difference.
This reminds me a little bit of the Nike book.
Shoe Dog?
Shoe Dog.
Yes.
So
yeah, well, I love that book.
I do too. Yeah, a really good one. And
I mean, you've got the other side of Nike that was a little bit dicey with some of their offshore tactics and some of their pricing issues and athletes. But outside of that, the fact that, I mean, Amazon's a great example of it too. If you think of one click purchasing, they patented in 1997. It is brilliant. It is absolutely brilliant. And it is a great brand play on Amazon's part, because it's easy. I don't care what the website looks like. I will always go there to purchase stuff because it is so freaking easy to buy. And that's part of their brand.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And also I wanted to mention, like, companies that want to tack on high quality XYZ, or like the best blah, 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 or like, it just doesn't mean anything. You
Right.
can't say that. And it's part of, like, the customer has to experience the product. The customer has to have that experience. So you can't tell them this is high quality until they actually experience it and figure it out themselves. There's no point.
Oh yeah, it's like Leslie is the leading training and coaching software in the world. Like, nobody talks like that. I don't talk like that. People don't talk like that. Or like accounting firms that say we've been around since 1870. Like, who cares? I don't care how long you've been around. That probably mattered in 1920, but it doesn't matter anymore, right? So I think there's a lot that I'm not sure that marketers are, I think there's some marketers that are lazy, but I think most of the time people just don't know how to do it, or they don't know the first step to do it. And I think the easiest first step is just write like you talk. And we have Olivia Schwan, who's on our team. She's a content specialist on our team. She is the best at it. I've never met anybody better at it, where the way she writes is just how our customers talk and how we talk as human beings. And that creates a human element to your brand that a lot of people don't gain ever, because they write content like it's a brochure.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that's why this is the Modern Startup Marketing Podcast, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
that's what we're talking about, the modern ways, moving from the old to the new, getting better. And I think a lot of people that are listening, actually, they want to know how. They might not know how. They want to know how. They want to listen to folks that get it. And so you're really bringing a lot of great knowledge. So I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about you talked about a lot of different great marketing ideas. Any others that you think you haven't mentioned yet? We have talked about so many different ones, from like the mascot and the sprints and like.
I'm going to double down on the revenue thing as a marketer. When you give your team the ability to think creatively without trying to worry about whether something's going to have a positive ROI, or it needs to be we're going to retro this and it needs to be a 3-to-1 CAC to LTV model or whatever ratio. They lose the creative element if they're worried about it. And when you give them the space to say, I don't really care what you come up with, it just needs to be experience based. And if you have great marketers and creatives, they're going to wow you. They're going to wow you. They're going to create things like, we have a Lego llama, and we have the golden llama, and we don't measure those. I have no idea whether the golden llama campaign produced revenue. I have no clue. But you know what? I know that.
Can you actually figure that out?
You could. I mean, we have Visible. It runs attribution modeling. You could say, hey, you sent a direct mail to this person during the sales process, and so they closed for $20K. The golden llama represents $500 of that. You could do that, but why? Like what is it going to tell you? That you shouldn't have done the golden llama campaign when a bunch of people loved it? So, but again, you can only do that stuff if you generate revenue and you hit revenue goals. You can't just be a brand team that can just do creative stuff all day long, because it's a business and you've got to scale it, right? So I'm going to double down on that, because I think that it has been one of the more important things that I've done at Lessonly, because it allows teams to think outside the box.
So when you're thinking about being creative versus and not thinking so much about ROI versus we need the revenue, do you think about it in terms of like, this is what we're going to do this month, this quarter to generate revenue, and this is like our brand stuff, we're just going to try this, we're going to just, it might take years for anything to come of it, but we know that in our gut, we feel like this is the right thing to do based on our culture and our values. Is that how you think about it?
Yeah. Pretty much. I mean, you've got the channel strategies, then you have campaigns, and we're fairly new in our campaign model. It's been a journey for us thinking through that, but ultimately, it's, hey, if somebody has a great idea and it's going to benefit, like the e-commerce site Ollie Llama & Co. It benefited us because we were able to send gift cards out to all of our customers to order clothing for a holiday gift. Or they could donate their money to Donors Shoes, or one of our nonprofits, as part of our foundation that we have called Brighter Indie. But it also gave us a talking point to say, what other software companies launched a clothing brand on a Shopify store, right? So, but I have no, like, I have no idea whether Ollie Llama and Co is going to generate revenue. It's probably not. We're probably losing money on it, honestly. But it allows sales reps to have a differentiating thing. Like, hey, we also have a clothing line that's not tied to Lessonly. Here's a discount code for you to go get a free hoodie or jacket or mug or hat or whatever's on there. Dog collar. We've got dog scarves.
I'm going to go check it out. And I'm also going to post a link with the show notes.
It's just Ollie, OLLIE, olliellama.co.
Perfect.
And we'll have a spring line out sometime. I'm not sure when, but it'll come out.
Ooh, that's exciting. Got to put a reminder on there. So, like, honestly, differentiation, it's worth it to lose money these days. Like a little bit, not too much, right? To be able to gain on the differentiation point.
Well, yeah, and let me be clear. You have to follow a model that is fiscally responsible, and we have that model Lessonly, and I work within that model. Like we are not overspending. We are hitting our revenue goals, right? So you keep it in the model. It depends on your business. If you are a venture-backed software company, an EBITDA number is not important to you. We don't talk about EBITDA at a venture-backed software company because it's about growth, right? Because you're raising money from venture capital firms. If you are a profitable company, I think my model still applies. It's just a different type of mindset. You might have less money to deal with, but you should still produce revenue first, because then it makes it easier for you to go to the CEO and founder and say, hey, we're hitting our revenue numbers. I'd like to take a couple grand to go do this test. Like, what are they going to say? They're going to say no. Like, you're already hitting your goal. It just makes it easier.
Yeah, they probably won't say no.
If they say no, go get a new job.
That's right. Yeah. All right. Well, I wanted to ask you before we're out of time here, what would you say is your favorite failure? And I've started to ask more and more around this because I think we don't talk enough about, like, I bring people on, they talk about what's working well. There's like all these rock star folks, they're doing a lot of great things. We don't really talk about what it took to get there. I'm sure you've learned so much. You're an experimenter at heart. So what would you say is like your favorite failure, or maybe a couple of failures?
Oh, we got a couple. I've got plenty. My number one regret is in failure was I had headcount for a senior product marketing leader in 2018, and I decided not to hire a product marketer and reinvested in other headcount, and that was a failure because it hurt us in the long run when it came to like verticalization and segments and one sheets and product information and customer marketing, all this stuff, right? We've figured it out in the long run. It would have just been way easier if I would have hired that person, who now I refer business to because she's an amazing product marketer. Second thing was we designed so Zendesk is an investor and huge integration partner of ours. And we designed Zen Gardens for direct mail and to take to conferences. And they were just small Lessonly Zen Gardens that had sand and stuff that you could do. And they were so freaking heavy that nobody wanted them. They were nobody wanted them at the booth. They were too heavy to ship.
Should have gotten those plastic llamas.
I know. Well, we still had the plastic llamas, but
oh, okay.
And it was just a complete direct mail failure. Let's see. And the third one, I'd say those are probably the top two. I mean, there's plenty of stuff that happened in 2020, but that's just a year in itself.
That's a wash. Yeah, that's all a wash.
Those are probably the top. Those are probably the top two. Two. Everything else I kind of compartmentalize out of my head. So those are the two that I remember.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for taking the time today. You don't see this where you're sitting, but I take notes, and I have so many stars for like pulling some clips out. I don't even know which ones to go with because you just brought the lessons, you brought the knowledge. So I appreciate you, Kyle. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
For folks to reach out to Kyle, if you want to reach out to Kyle, you can find him on LinkedIn, Kyle Lacy. And to find out more about Lessonly, go to lessonly.com. And I will include a link to the alilama.co website. And I don't know if I'll probably include some other cool links that were probably mentioned. I feel like I learned so much from you.
The other one, dobetterwork.com is another one.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Kyle.
Absolutely.
Thanks for
Thank
being
you.
here.